Hyper casual games are those games which are simple in their design, graphics, scope, and gameplay. They are the type of games which people play when they want to relax and unwind. Usually, they are non-competitive, or else the players competing against themselves for a high score or level, or even racing against the clock. One simple mechanic of a hyper-casual game is that of catching or dodging falling objects. This is nothing new and has been seen as far back as Parachute on the Nintendo Game & Watch, and the mechanic of avoiding objects which are moving towards you can be scaled up into full games like Shmups or Endless Runners. Let's have a look at how we can create this simple mechanic using Construct 3 and placeholder graphics, which can be swapped out later for better artwork. Right, let's enter Construct and let's just set the size of the layout to match that of the viewport, since essentially we're making a one-screen mobile game and we don't need all the extra space. Now that we've done that, let's rename this layer to background, and then we can just select any color that suits us as a sprite and make that the background. So let's take a nice green here and fill the square, resize it. We'll just match the background size. And let's just reposition this in the top left corner, 0, 0, and just go back to the background and change the origin point to the top left corner. And there we go, our background fits nicely. Let's lock it and add a new layer at the top for our game object or our player. Let's add a sprite. We'll call it the player. And let's just give it another color. How about a nice deep red? Let's fill our block and resize it to about 50 by 50 pixels. That should do nicely. Let's add the movement behavior and also the bound to layout behavior so that we can't escape the screen edges. Let's just make sure it doesn't move at an angle and make it left right only. Here we can test and see that our player moves left and right and cannot escape the edges of the screen. Now let's add the falling object. So we'll add another sprite. We could call this the enemy, but it might not be an enemy. It could be an object you're trying to rescue, so let's just call it the falling object. Let's choose another color, perhaps a blue, fill our square, resize it, say 25 by 25. And there we go. Now we need to make the object fall. So we're going to head over to our event sheet and we're going to add an event. This will be a system event. Every tick or every frame, we're going to make the object move downwards by a 10 pixels, say. So we'll move at an angle and we'll move at 90 degrees by 10 pixels. So you'll see when we run, down comes the object. Now let me just explain how the angles work in Construct. 0 degrees points right, 90 degrees points down, 180 points left, and 270 points upwards. Let's just group this under a heading object motion so we can keep things neat and tidy. Right, every random amount between, let's try 0 and 3 seconds, we'll generate a new object so that there are objects to catch or avoid. So we'll create another falling object, put it on the player layer, and we want it to be at a random position along the X or horizontal, so between 0 and 480 on the X, because that is the width of our screen. And we want it to stay always generating at the top, so Y value will stay the same. So the top there, Y should be around about 10 or so, 10 or 20, and it should stay at that position. They aren't being generated quickly enough in my opinion, so let's go and change the time interval between the creation of objects. So at the moment we're creating objects a random amount between every 0 and 3 seconds, so we're going to go and change that to 0 and 1 second. Let's see how fast they get created. Okay, there you go. Now you've either got to dodge or catch these objects. So let's just neaten up our code here. This group we can call the creation or the create objects. Put it in there. Alright, now we just need to do the collisions. So when the object hits the player, we will destroy the object. So when the player collides with the falling object, we will destroy the falling object. There we go. A little bit tricky to catch everything. Let's just change the speed of the player. First we'll neaten this up. This is our collisions code, so we'll put that in there. And let's go ahead and increase the speed of the player so that we can catch more of these objects. So we'll just make him accelerate almost instantaneously. And we'll see that's already a lot better. And so very quickly we've created the basic falling catch or dodge mechanic, and we could swap this programmer art out with good real artists graphics, and we could make this into lots of different types of games. Next step is obviously the heads up display, scoring, timing, etc. Hope you enjoyed this. Tune in for the next one.
GameDev Journey.